Welcome to Zone In Sports, your favorite spot for real talk, bold takes, and everything in the zone when it comes to sports. From hard-hitting analysis of the Miami Hurricanes football to the hottest stories across the sports world, we're bringing you that energy, passion, and a little bit of swagger, just like the U. So whether you're tailgating in the Coral Gables or arguing in the group chats or just vibing in your way to work, buckle up. You're in the zone with your host, D. Hamp.
All righty out there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Zone In Sports. And today we have a special guest in the building, a man who lives and breathes Tennessee Volunteers football. He's cheered through the highs, endured the lows, and never stopped singing Rocky Top. A true representative of Vols Nation, he brings that passion, that energy, and that orange pride every single Saturday. Please welcome my guest, Bill, a diehard Tennessee fan, ready to tell us exactly what it means to bleed orange and white. Welcome to the show, Bill. How you doing out there?
Doing good, D. Hamp. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Hey, full disclaimer for the audience out there, I've known Bill for almost 30 years, so I want you guys to know that. We argue back and forth about Miami football and Tennessee football, so I'm blessed to have him on the show. Bill, go ahead, Thurman.
I'm sorry.
What was your take on this weekend's game before we get into the questions of the game?
It was a good win on the road against a 4-0 team who really haven't played anybody. I mean, Mississippi State's they're a decent program, and we went to their house and beat them, so kind of made up for the Georgia loss, but not really. I mean, the Georgia loss was a heartbreaker, and to see them go into Mississippi State and win that game, that was a good win for them. Hopefully, that propels them forward for the rest of the season, where they can get a couple more big wins and maybe be in the show at the end of the season. But we'll see.
All righty, there it is, right there. What made you fall in love with Tennessee football in the first place?
Well, shucks. Before I get into that, D, I just want to say, I've seen your program from the very first episode, and I want to congratulate you on everything you got going. I mean, you went from a basement mic and camera and all that to where you're at now, man. So you're rocking it good. I'm really proud of you, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, you got it. But when I was a kid, I don't even know how old I was. I think I was 13 or 14 years old, and the only two football teams I really paid attention, well, three actually, was St. Louis Cardinals, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Mizzou Tigers, because I'm from St. Louis. But one day I was watching TV, and I saw this character on the sideline, and he had this orange and white checkered suit coat on. And I thought, man, who is this guy, And it turned out to be Johnny Majors, who was the coach of the University of Tennessee at that time. And as it turns out, Johnny Majors was one of the prolific football players at Tennessee, an All-American, a runner-up to Paul Hornung for, the Heisman Trophy, and, a guy who won a national championship at Pittsburgh before he came to Tennessee. So, I was watching the guy. He was, charismatic on the sidelines, up and down the sidelines. He had this orange vest on, and I started kind of following the team, and next thing you know, here we are, I don't know, 50 years later, and I'm still a fan. So that was kind of the genesis of it. But through the years, it's, I drive a truck for a living, and I had my own for a long time and traveled the country. And everywhere you go, I mean, you can pick up Tennessee Vols football. So I've been able to follow them everywhere I go in the country, and it's been a good ride.
All right. Do you remember your very first Vols game experience?
Yeah, how can I forget it? There was a program on TV here some years ago. It was called QB1, and one of the quarterbacks featured on that program was Jake Fromm from Georgia, and he wound up playing at Georgia. In fact, the guy who's currently quarterbacking the Jets right now, I can't call his name right off the top of my head. Who is it? He played for the Bears. Played for the Bears. Yeah. Anyway, he was on that show as well, and he couldn't beat out Jake Fromm at Georgia, so he transferred to Ohio State and then wound up going to the pros. But anyway,
you're talking about Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. That's it. Okay. Yeah. At one time they were teammates at Georgia, but Christy and I, my wife, we went to Knoxville for our first Tennessee Vols game, my first Tennessee Vols game, just like 5, 6, 7 years ago, whenever that game was. And it started out great. You know, we got to shake hands with Peyton Manning in the Vols walk. That was awesome. And went to the stadium. It was a terrific experience. I mean, it was an orange and white day, so every other section was orange, every other section was white. Beautiful day. I mean, just perfect and stuff. And sat there and watched the Vols get beat 41-0 by Georgia, the worst home team loss in the history of Tennessee volunteer football. That was my first game in Knoxville at Rocky Top, you know. So, you know, I got to see a record, so at least that was that, you know.
That's really cool.
Right?
That's great. That's a great story, though.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's a great story. Terrible loss. You know, I mean, we had terrific seats. I overpaid for my seat, so we'd have a good view. And, you know, saw Jake Fromm before the game, you know, warming up in the end zone and stuff. And, you know, like I said, it was an all-around great experience until the game started, and not so much after that. Butch Jones was the coach at that time. And, you know, Butch was okay, but he was totally outclassed. And it showed on the field.
Okay.
So,
now, this is an interesting question. What is your game day tradition like in Knoxville? Well, not either at home, because I know you're not in Knoxville right now.
Well, I don't know that I really have a tradition to speak of. You know, I'm always of course aware that the Vols are on TV or they're playing, and I always try to catch the game. My life is pretty busy, so I don't always have time to sit down on Saturday and watch the game unless it's a big one against like Georgia. I watched that till the bitter end, and you know, almost jumped off my deck in the back when they lost it at the end. But you know, it's typical Tennessee football. There's always one game in the season that, you know, is critical to the season, like a Florida game, an LSU game, an Alabama game. This year it was Georgia, you know, and so typically I know when the game's on. I don't usually watch the first half. I'll usually come in at the second half. Watch the second half of the game all the way to the end. If it's close, if it's not, you know, if it's a blowout or something like that, I'll go do something else. But, you know, I always like to watch the big games and be a part of it and sit down and relax and enjoy it. Usually I wind up biting my fingers off, but, you know, that's the way it goes when you're a fan and you're rooting for your team.
True.
So
Neyland Stadium is legendary. How would you describe the atmosphere to someone who's never been?
You know, I wouldn't. I've been there 4 times actually. I've seen 3 losses and 1 win. I've only seen 1 win at Neyland in 4 trips. So I'm kind of a bad luck charm. I don't really need to go there anymore. You know, it's not good. But you know, it's a great experience, man. I mean, the people are really into it. They've got the Vols Navy down there on the river. The first time Chrissy and I were there, we got disoriented from where we were. We walked out of the stadium, and instead of going right, we made a left, and we wound up walking all the way around the stadium, the campus, and everything else. I mean, we must have walked 10 miles. And we wound up actually down where the Vols Navy was, and we were going to eat there, but it was like a 3-hour wait after the game, even after a 41-0 loss. But everybody was super friendly. I mean, it was an exciting atmosphere. People were pumped up, and that goes for all 4 games, not just the one they lost. But you know, we saw them play Mizzou twice there, 1 win, 1 loss, and so that was kind of fun. But yeah, it's a great atmosphere. It's not unlike any other big time college program. You know, you go to Miami. You know, it's a perfect example. You go on game day, and everybody's excited to be there. It's fun. You know, you're excited. Just have a great time, enjoy the football game, and you know everything that's around that.
Okay, which rivalry game gets your blood pumping the most? Will it be Florida, Georgia, or Alabama?
You know, a couple of years ago, the Vols beat Alabama when Alabama was kind of on a downward swing. They stormed the field and all that. I mean, it was a great win for the Vols, but I kind of tempered that a little bit because of the condition that Alabama was in at the time. Granted, you got to beat your opponent, you know, but that was a big win for Alabama. But for me, it's always Georgia. I mean, Florida was more of a 90s thing when Peyton Manning was there and they were trying to win a national championship. And and he could never beat Florida. And but now for me, it's always Georgia, particularly since they beat us 41-0 on my only game that I saw them at Neyland Stadium. So the Bulldogs are a good team. They're always a good team. They're always competitive. They're always tough. It seems like we always play them at a time that's pivotal, that we really need that win. And somehow, some way, Georgia always winds up pulling it out, So it's frustrating as hell, but one of these days we'll get them,
Hey, well, maybe
For
this will
me,
be
so
the year.
yeah. So for me, that's the game. That's the one,
Georgia?
That's the one I want to see them win.
Okay. So Georgia, okay. Well, you might have already answered this question earlier, but it might not be. What's the most heartbreaking loss you've ever experienced as a fan?
Wow. That's a really good question. I'd have to really think on that one. Golly. Man, there's been so many. I mean, I sit here, and one of the things I was thinking about when you invited me to be on the show was, what was the most thrilling, what was the most heartbreaking. And there's been at least 10 heartbreaking losses that I've sat through and just, almost cried my eyes out over, because they had the game won and couldn't get off the field, couldn't stop the other team from going down and getting the game winning drive. Georgia, LSU, Alabama. I mean, Auburn beat them one time like that. And it's like, you can ask Christy, I'll just stand here and just start screaming at the TV because they can't make a stop. And it's been kind of their Achilles heel, I guess you might say, that they've lost some big games because their defense couldn't get it done. Their offense got it done. They put them in a place to win, but the defense just couldn't hold them. And, that's crushing, man. When you're just sitting there watching the other team come marching down the field and beat you on a last second, touchdown or a last second field goal, it crushes you. But there's also been some pretty big wins too. But, more than the big wins was the big losses that just crush it. It's like they always say, you remember those more than you remember the big wins, right?
Yeah. So you can't put your finger on quite what the biggest one. But on the flip side, what's your most memorable, most unforgettable win?
Well, obviously it was the 98 championship. I was standing in a bar. I was at a bar in Maryland Heights, Missouri. I was the only one there that was actually watching the game on TV. There was a band playing and all this stuff. They're playing Florida State, and they're leading in the fourth quarter, and Florida State's driving for a touchdown and stuff, throw the interception, and I'm just like, hallelujah, brother. I got my arms in the air and I'm jumping up and down. Everybody's looking at me like I got three heads or something, But for me, it was the culmination of years and years of rooting hard and hoping that they could do it. And Phil Fulmer and T. Martin and all them guys got it done. So that was absolutely the most exciting game in Vols history in my mind, anyway.
Interesting. Okay, what's your honest take on Josh Heupel and where he's taking the program?
Well, I got to tell you, Josh Heupel was with Mizzou, and he really wasn't on my radar until he was named Vols head coach. I think Josh has done a great job of making the Vols competitive year after year during his tenure. I mean, they're always right there, but here again, this year is a good example of that. You come out, you play strong, you win your games, you come out, and then you got to face Georgia. You're in a position to win the game, can't close the deal. It's tough, man. I mean, you want to give the guy credit and say, he's got a team that can compete and be right at the doorstep, be there at the end, but just can't get it over the goal line. And that's pretty frustrating, but I'm not ready to jump ship on Josh Heupel by any chance. I think the guy's a good coach. I think he's got the guys playing together, playing as a team. They believe, and that's huge. I mean, as you know, as a Miami fan, all the years that you've suffered through, teams that wasn't getting it done, and now you guys are in a position to do some damage here. I think you got a good team, and I'd like to be in that position. But here again, you got to win the games that get you over the top and get you in the national conversation. And thus far, the Vols haven't gotten there, and Josh Heupel hasn't won he hasn't won an SEC championship or anything like that yet. So really, the proof is in the pudding. Win a championship, and then we can start talking about a national championship, instead of just you're almost there. but you don't have quite enough to get over the top. So I think he's got work to do. I like how he coaches the team. I like his enthusiasm. Question is somebody else going to take him? We'll see. How much of a dedicated Vol is he? I mean, he's going to stay there, or is he going to jump ship first chance he gets? I mean, particularly with the portal. I like the way he uses the portal, though. I mean, he went out and got the Penn State quarterback. The guy's proven to be a pretty decent, pretty serviceable quarterback. So I give him a lot of credit for going out and getting that guy after the other guy jumped ship on him.
That's going to follow up one of my questions real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. What was your take on the Nico Amidala? Well, I don't want to butcher his last name.
Yeah.
On the Nico situation.
Yeah, that guy. Well, I mean, you and I have talked about that in the past, and obviously the kid, did he make a mistake doing what he did? Hard to say. I mean, in my mind, he did, considering how that all turned out for him. I mean, he went to UCLA. Now he's not even playing for them. So, I don't know that the kid made a wise decision. I think he had a lot of this going on in each year, and he, probably made a poor decision. I think it turned out okay for the Vols, considering what quarterback they have, calling the plays now. So, is it a wash? I think it is. I mean, overall.
But when he first put his name in the portal, what did you think? Did you think like, damn, we screwed? Or what was your initial thought when he first got into the portal and you guys not having a quarterback at the time?
But, it was kind of like Lane Kiffin all over again, when Kiffin jumped ship and went to USC. I mean, that guy put us behind the 8 ball for a long time, right? Because he just jumped. I mean, the guy is our coach. Everybody's behind him. He's got all the support he needs. And then he says, F you, I'm leaving. I'm going to SC. Why did he go to SC? I guess it was his dream job. Didn't work out for him, which that doesn't break my heart. But so when this guy decided to enter the portal and leave, when he kind of held Tennessee hostage, and Tennessee called his bluff and said, hey, look, you want to go, we're not going to hold you back. The only question I ever really had about that was, if that would have been Peyton Manning, would they have had the same attitude towards this guy, and let him go so easily? I'm not so sure, but obviously this kid wasn't Peyton Manning, so I think it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. So, but he went to USC. It didn't work out. We got a good kid from Penn State who's been a pretty good quarterback. He's pretty solid. I'd say he's every bit as good as that guy was, maybe even better. And of course, if he'd have beat Georgia, I'd be, bowing down to the guy and saying, amen. He's a second coming, right? It didn't work out. But you never know. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, and maybe we'll find ourselves in the playoffs. You never know.
Right. All right. Who's your favorite player on the current roster right now?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I'd have to lean towards that quarterback, man. I mean, that kid came in and, he came in under a lot of controversy, and Josh Heupel's been coaching him up. He's been calm, cool, and collected, and handled the pressure, really like a pro. He's come in and, he's really a leader of the team now, and everybody kind of depends on him. They believe in the guy, and, he's shown that he's capable of that trust. So, I think the guy's doing a great job. I mean, I have no ill feelings towards him, whatever. I mean, he had to do what he had to do to enter the portal, and, Tennessee's glad to have him as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I think it's that guy right there.
All right. That is a tough question here. What do you think Tennessee needs to get back to the SEC championship glory?
Wow. I wish I had the answer to that. If I did, I'd be on the sidelines coaching, making big money and not driving a truck for a living. But, it's like all the rest of the teams, Dwayne. I mean, these guys, the teams that win national championships. I mean, look at Ohio State. They had all the depth in the world last year. It showed in the championship game. I mean, it wasn't even really a contest. Much to the chagrin of my friend Chris, but that's okay.
Right.
Shout out to C-Wags, Notre Dame fan. You got to have depth. You got to have a little bit of luck. You got to definitely have strong quarterback play. You got to have guys who can go up and get the ball, your receivers down the field. You got to have a defense, man. I mean, you got to have somebody who can get you off the field and get the ball back into your quarterback's hands. So I don't think Tennessee's there as far as their defense is concerned. They're solid. The thing about Tennessee is they always have an unbelievable draft class, right? Like they're always in the top 10 in drafts, usually in the top 5. So it's hard to believe that they don't have the kind of depth that you need to win a national championship. But man, year after year after year after year after year, they just fail to make that next step. And I'm not really sure what the answer is, to be honest with you. I mean, with the portal, with so much player movement, coach movement, assistant coaches on the move all the time. Boy, I mean, it's hard to really get that glue together to make a cohesive team to make a charge at the championship. Obviously, Nick Saban did it for a lot of years, man, at Alabama. And, it looks like the guy at Ohio State now might have an opportunity to repeat that. So, Tennessee, they're always right there. They just got to find a way. Heupel's got to find a way, man, just to get the team over the hump and, get us to an SEC championship first and then get us into the playoff. And then, hey, anything can happen in the tournament, right?
Right.
So get us there. Just get us there. And let's see what happens when we get there.
All right. Now, this is a question that I've posed to a lot of people, some former players, some former NFL players, some fans. What is your take? Well, how do you feel about the NIL in college football?
Wow. The NCAA, I mean, in my opinion, NCAA, man, they made it so hard for a student athlete to survive, like a lot of these kids who come out of the inner city and they don't have the kind of wherewithal to, buy clothes or buy food or, be able to support themselves at school. I mean, they're really reliant on that scholarship. So I don't have a problem with a kid. I've never understood the NCAA's rule on why a kid can't work or accept a job from, a booster of a school so that he can, have a car to drive or, have some money in his pocket, take his girl out on a Saturday night. I mean, I never understood why that was such a sin. I mean, obviously that can be a force in, oh, well, I gave you this money, so now I want you to play this way, or I want you to do this, or I suppose that's a problem or it could be a problem. But when NIL came along, it gave a kid an opportunity to, make some money on his name. Not every kid involved in a football program, obviously, is going to make money on his name because nobody knows who the backup center is or who the long snapper is. So, those guys aren't really going to make a lot of money. It might handshake money, right? Handshake cash coming out from the tunnel. But as far as NIL money, they're not going to make a lot of money. But, these schools are making millions and millions of dollars off these kids. And, with corporate sponsorship and, stadium naming rights and this and that. And yeah, I mean, everything's got a name on it now. I mean, I'm surprised that their helmets don't have a name on them. I guess that's probably the next thing. So I don't begrudge a kid or a family or anybody else from making as much money as they can. But as with the quarterback at Tennessee, too many people were in this kid's ear saying, you're not being treated fairly by Tennessee. You can make a heck of a lot more money, somewhere else, like at a big school like USC or, Ohio State or something like that. He found out pretty quick that not every single kid is going to make that kind of money when he does those kinds of things. Got to be careful. You got to make good decisions. You got to have people around you to say, you know what, you're in a pretty good position right where you're at. You ought to just stay there.
Right. And just to clarify, Nico went to UCLA. That's what he meant. And from what I understand about the Nico situation, that he actually was guaranteed money in high school. So it's crazy. But to wrap it all up in a neat bow, kids, hey, they don't even want a car now. They want a house. I mean, cars is beyond what they really want now. Cars was back in the 80s. Now they want the big stuff now. So
well, I mean, I'm 64, so I'm old school, man. Give me a break.
All right.
It's all good, dude.
Hey, what does Rocky Top mean to you personally?
I grew up a St. Louis Cardinals football fan, Big Red, and then they moved to Arizona, in the 80s. That was a big loss for me. And then the Rams left St. Louis and, went out to LA again after coming to St. Louis from LA. So that was another big loss. We've got the Cardinals, we got the Blues. They're not going anywhere. So I got those two teams. And Rocky Top is another one of those things that they're not going anywhere. Tennessee's going to be there till the end of time. So for me, for my college football team, the team that I love and the team that I support, the team that I'm always going to be behind, it's Rocky Top, man, all the way. I mean, good old Rocky Top. You go down there, they sing the song, everybody goes, woo, and you're into it, just like that. A couple of adult beverages, and hey, man, you're having a great time. You know what I mean? So, Rocky Top's a great place, man. We've been there, like I said, 3 or 4 times and had a great time every single time. Win or lose, we had a great time. The people are awesome. The stadium's awesome. 105,000 people in that building, and it doesn't really feel like it. I mean, there's plenty of room to move around. The Big Orange is everywhere. I tell Chrissy all the time, my wife, everywhere we go, we see orange. We see the Big T, the Power T. We see it everywhere. We see it in California, Oregon. We saw it at the Grand Canyon, in Cancun. I mean, we see people wearing hats. I got a tent that has, Tennessee on it that we put up on the beach. So, the Big Orange, man, it's all about the Big Orange. And one of these days, it's been since 1998, so we're talking a long, long time ago. One of these days, the Big Orange we're gonna do it again.
All right, we got a first question here.
Okay.
Yeah, so can you guys explain to me and justify how the ESPN rankings have Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame, Texas, and Ole Miss, but he meant Ole Miss, ahead of Miami just because we didn't play this week? He talking about the FPI rankings. That's and I can't, because when you look at the okay, I always try to give ESPN a little grace.
There's no bias there. There's no East Coast bias or anything there. Come on.
Yeah, I thought it was quite suspect that Miami fell and didn't play from 2 to 3. But as a fan, it doesn't bother me. So you just win your game. That's the way I look at it. And I never get really caught up in the rankings. But to the answer to your question, Anthony, no, I can't explain it. You, Bill?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, D. I'm not a Miami fan. I never have been. But I respect the program based on their history and the things that they've done. And this year, Miami has they have a damn good team. I mean, a damn good team. I really enjoyed the interview you did with the sports reporter, the guy, the Miami beat writer. I can't think of his name right now.
Alex Dono?
Yeah, that guy. He was great, and I really thought he laid it out well with regard to the team and, what their prospects are for this year. And, I think you guys got a great team. I think you got a really good shot at, for sure making the playoff and maybe doing some damage when you're in there. So, I wouldn't worry too much about what the rankings say. I'd worry more about what you guys are doing on the field.
All right. And the last question before we finish up here, it says, Bill, have you ever experienced a Tennessee Volunteers game at both Neyland Stadium and the Titans Stadium?
No, I haven't. I've never been to Titan Stadium for a Vols game. My brother lived in Nashville. Shout out to my brother. He might be watching right now. He lived in Nashville for a while, and I visited him there several times, but the Vols were never there, so I never got to see him play at Titan Stadium. They're building a brand new stadium in Nashville, by the way. Huge place. Right. It's going to be awesome. Right. Yeah.
All right. How do you feel Tennessee fans are different from other SEC fan bases?
Well, I mean, it's right here, man. See that? Everywhere you go, you can see that. Everywhere you go. A lot of people walk around with red hats on saying "Roll Tide." We just walk around with orange with our big T and say, that's all you need to really see. But Alabama's got how many national championships? How many do we have? I mean, the SEC is great, man. I love the SEC. I love everything about the SEC. I've got a nephew who's he's getting ready to retire from the Navy, and he's an Ohio State fan, and him and I go back and forth all the time. Of course, he's got more bragging rights than I do because he's got more national championships. But, there's nothing like Tennessee football, man. I mean, from the moment I saw Johnny Majors on the sideline to the moments I'm driving around in California in an 18-wheeler hearing Tennessee football, on my stereo, 2,000 miles from home. I was sitting in a truck stop one day and some guy pulled in with a trailer, and on the back of it, somebody had wrote Tennessee 21, Minnesota 14. Ha ha. I had a good laugh over that. And, it was a bowl game, but there's nothing like Vols football, man. I mean, once you're a Vols fan, there's no, my best friend, his daughter graduated from the University of Tennessee. So her and I have a really tight bond, and I'll see her this weekend at a wedding. And, I enjoy it. It's great. We suffer some really heartbreaking losses, but there's some really great highs when you beat a team like Alabama, or, you come out this year and you got a good season going and you lose to Georgia, but then you bounce right back, beat Mississippi State. So I think we got a good shot at, looking good this year, and I'm optimistic and going forward. I like Josh Heupel. I think he's doing a great job, him and his staff. And, I think we're on the right track. It's just a matter of, can we get the right players, enough depth, the coaches that we need to coach them up and get us to that next step. I hope so. I'd like to be there. I'd like to win another national championship before it's all over for me.
All right. Got another question. It says, basically it said, ask Bill, what position do he think Tennessee needs to beef up on?
Oh, wow. They always have a good quarterback. It seems like they always have good running backs, good wide receivers. The offensive line is usually pretty good. Linebackers, maybe nose guard. Oh, you know what? I take that back. Our safeties, in our defensive backfield always seems to be an Achilles heel. We had a guy, I can't think of his name right now, a few years ago, super stud. I mean, just a super stud. Wore number 4, great player, awesome player. And he's the kind of guy that we need at every defensive back position. If we had a solid defensive backfield, solid linebackers, and be able to stop the run, we'd be deadly. I think being able to stop the run particularly would really help our defensive backs, and we just can't seem to stop people running on us, and that hurts. When second down is 2nd and 1 all the time, I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough to stop that. You got 2 shots at 1 yard. It's not that difficult.
All right. Best Vols jersey of all time.
Wow. Mine. No, I'm just kidding. It's hard to argue 16. Okay. It's hard to argue 17. Golly, that's a really good question. My favorite number is 19. That's my jersey number when I play, but not football, hockey, but that's a different story. Golly, that's a really good question. I think that just based on, wow, that's a really good question. I don't know how to answer that. There's so many. I mean, when you have guys like Reggie White, Peyton Manning, Doug Atkins, Johnny Majors. I mean, you're talking about some Hall of Fame players right there. Like Reggie White for sure. I mean, Reggie White's a Hall of Fame player in college, a Hall of Fame player in the NFL, as is Peyton Manning. So, which one of those numbers do you think is the best? To me, I think it's a wash. Those 2 guys.
Well, let's do this then. What's your all-time favorite player then?
Oh, my all-time favorite player, man. Golly. You know what? I can't say that I have one, D, to be honest with you. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I don't think I have a favorite player other than maybe, oh, man, what was that kid's name? He caught, geez. Hang on just 1 second here. I'll tell you exactly who it was. Leonard Little played for Tennessee, and he was he played for the Rams as well, St. Louis Rams. I met him one time at a car wash. Super nice guy. This was after the accident and everything. But, Peerless Price holds a pretty special place in my heart, man. He caught a big touchdown pass in that national championship game. He was a force, caught a bunch of passes in that game. I mean, he was a difference maker in that game, as was T. Martin. Those 2 guys, they'll always hold a special place in my heart that they can't really be replaced, even above like a guy like Peyton Manning, because Peyton couldn't win the big one. T. Martin did, and so did Peerless Price. So those two guys, man, I really have a lot of respect for. I do for Peyton as well. I mean, obviously, everything that Peyton Manning did, I got to shake the dude's hand. I mean, I haven't washed my hands since then. So, you know,
did you not watch it because what he did in the pros or in college?
Well, I mean, both. You know, I really wish he could have won a national championship at Tennessee. It would have really filled out his resume. You know, I mean, considering if he'd have won a national championship in college and in the pros, the guy would have been, he would have been an all timer.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it done though. You know, I mean, it takes more than just him to win the championship, though. I mean, it takes the whole team. So
yeah, true.
Better
atmosphere, day game or night game at Neyland, and why?
Oh, night game. No comparison. Night game for sure. I mean, you start out the day, tailgating, walking around the campus, and visiting. You got the Vols walk, which is really, if you've never been to that thing, that's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of, I guess every school has that. I don't know. Does Miami have that, a version of that?
What's that? I'm sorry.
The Vols walk is a thing where the whole team walks. Yeah. All teams have that, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then, we hung out at some of the tailgates, and but the night atmosphere there is well, I mean, either one. But me, I'm a night guy. I like night games. I'm a big time night football fan. My dad and I, for years and years and years before he passed away, we'd pick a high school game of the week, and we'd go see it. We'd pick out whatever game was the biggest game of the week, and him and I would go sit in the stands, and my other brother, we'd go and sit in the stands. And it's a memory I'll have for the rest of my life. My dad passed a couple of years ago, and he loved football. He loved the Cardinals. He loved Mizzou. He wasn't a Tennessee fan, but I won't hold that against him. But his love of football when I was a kid gave me a love of football. So I owe everything, about sports and all those things to my dad. And, my pops he was my biggest fan when I played. And, I learned a lot from him, learned all about sports and competitiveness and, having a competitive heart and, picking a team and sticking to it. He was a Cardinal fan. He was a Yankee fan. He loves sports, man. And he gave that to all of his kids. And I'll forever be grateful for that.
All right. Now, I think you might have answered this in a roundabout way, but if you could guarantee one win this season, who would it be against?
Well, it would have been against Georgia, but we don't have that game anymore. So going forward, boy, I'd have to look at the schedule, see who's on the schedule. If LSU is on the schedule, I'd say I got a buddy of mine who's a SEC referee, by the way. Well, he's not any on-field referee anymore. He's in the booth doing replay, but he's a big LSU honk. And so just because it's him, I'd say LSU. But, Alabama had a big win this past weekend. And, they're showing signs of life. Like, they're going to be for real in the SEC. Like, they're going to compete.
Who's that?
So if I had, if I was going to pick one, it'd be them. I mean, that'd be a landmark win for us this season.
And who's that again, Bill? I'm sorry.
Alabama.
Alabama. Let me see.
Yeah, they just had a big win this past weekend, and so they're looking like they're going to make some noise in the SEC this year. And so if we could beat them, that might be a signature win to propel us into the playoffs if the rest of the season goes well.
All right. And we have one last question. I always ask all my guests this before we get up out of here. Who should I have on the show next? And before you answer, you have to help me get them. What's up there, orange and green? I see you out there, family.
I have to help you get him. Wow. Well, I don't know that I can help you get the guy because I have no earthly idea how to get a hold of him. But
somebody you can get a hold of.
But wow, that's a really good question. I got a buddy of mine who's a diehard. Well, I don't know if that would be a good guess or not. I have to think about that, D-Hemp. Well, I wish you would have hit me up with that earlier so I could have thought about it. But there's so many guys out there that are big football fans, and you already had my guys, Chris Wagner on. He's a Notre Dame Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I just got done watching that Dallas Cowboys program on Netflix, and Michael Irvin is Miami alum, obviously, and he did a great job on that show. I thought he was very forthcoming and right out front with everything. Be great to have Michael Irvin. I know you'd like to have him for sure. I don't have his phone.
Who you can help me get.
I'm saying I don't have his phone number, so I mean, you're kind of on your own there, but golly, that's really a good question, man. I mean, there's so many people out there that Adrian Beeman, he's a big time Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I mean a lifelong Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I don't know what college he roots for, but I don't think it's Miami. But he'd be an interesting person to talk to. Definitely hook you up with him, but I'd have to think about that, Hamp. I can get back to you on that. I got to think about that because I'm not sure who you should have on that I can help you get on. Right.
Well, you think about it. I'm pretty sure you'll come up with somebody.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank my guest Bill for tapping in with me today. Of course, we'll be back Saturday at 11 o'clock for our pregame show. Hopefully you Tennessee fans will tap in. I know my Miami fans will be up in the house. And hit that like and share this content if you haven't. And we're out. And before we leave, hate to say this, Bill, it's all about the you.